So let's begin today with some basics of classes. So let me add a new class, which is just a class which is representing a car object. So let's say we add a new class called car, and the car class we will add a few parameters here. So this is the car class declaration. Within the car class, now there are two things which we want to be clear about. There is declaration and definition. So for example, this is the constructor, the default constructor of car class, and this is the declaration of the constructor, and in car.cpp we have the definition of the car class constructor. This is the default constructor, which means it takes no arguments. In some places, default constructor is the constructor which takes no arguments, or sorry, the constructor that is provided by the compiler when we don't have any constructor. But mostly default constructor could just mean that the constructor that takes no arguments, and we are creating that constructor. So for now I will just say cout default car class constructor called. That's just so that we can get a response whenever this constructor is called. We can see that this is called, although this is not something that we do in general. We don't want to put output when we are creating a constructor, but this is just for our learning. Okay, so we have car class constructor, and let's do this in main. We will include car.h, and for now I will just delete this qcore application, all this stuff, so that it has nothing to do with Qt library. And then I'll say we'll create a car object C. Now you know that this is the most basic way of calling the constructor or creating the object car C. On this line 5, it is creating a car class object, and that's going to invoke this constructor. So let's run this code, and we should see default car class constructor called. So our code is running good, and now let's do this. Let's add some private variables here, data members or instance variables. So let's say if we have year as int and model as a string, so we will we need to include string.h here. Now you may have noticed that when we include standard libraries, we use the libraries are used with angle brackets. We say hash include string, but when we usually include our own libraries or header files, we say we enclose this in double quotes. So that's something that's the convention, and a lot of compilers, some compilers are flexible about it, but then some compilers assume that when you have double quotes, that means the library or the header file is written by you, and it is the compiler looks for this header file in a separate directory in the current directory. And when we have the header file with angle brackets, that then it looks in the standard place where all the libraries are. Okay, so now we have a couple of variables here. So we will just initialize them, and maybe we should include make also. So you can see that we have year, make and model for each car, and the purpose of the constructor is to initialize the values. So we would like to initialize, let's say for default constructor we will set year equals 2015, and make is let's say Toyota, and model is Camry. By the way, that's what my car was, but it was not 2015, but it's a Toyota Camry, so I'll just use that. Now we will not see anything here, any difference. So let's make a print function which we can use to print all the information about a car. You can right click, go to refactor and add definition. You can see this is again we talked about function declaration and definition. Here you can say it says switch between function declaration and definition. So here this in the header file is the declaration of the function, and then we put the definition in the CPP file. So let's put a cout which says car is make, and then maybe a space, model, and then year. And I'll also include a endl. So we have a function. This is the function of the definition of print function, which prints some information about the car object. And let's go in main. We will call c.print so we can see what information we have. So I'm running the class, and you can see when I run the program, it creates the default car class constructor called, and it says car is Toyota Camry year 2015. So it looks like our default constructor is running great. We initialized the object here, all the instance variables inside the car class constructor. Now this is one of the ways of initializing data members, but there is another way which is called initialization list. So when I do use initialization list, the syntax is a little different. We can achieve almost the same idea, but the difference is, I'll explain you later what's the difference. So I'm going to comment this definition and definition of the constructor using initialization list. Okay, so now I have this is a we put a colon, and then we use each data member or the instance variable, and in parentheses we use the value that we want to initialize it to. So Toyota and model Camry. Okay, and then we don't need anything in the definition inside, and let's run the code. So we get the same output because now using the initialization list we are exactly doing the same way we are initializing each of the instance variables here. Okay.